Everybody, I thought I would hop on here and give you a rundown of the 8 moral theories we will have covered by the end of Unit 2. This isn't meant to suggest that there's not a whole lot of detail that goes into each one, as I'm sure you have figured out by reading the textbook, but this is more so to kind of give a bottom line for each theory to hopefully help you understand them better. So we start with deontology, and deontology is basically rule-based ethics. That is, if you follow a certain rule or principle or standard according to natural ideas of what's right and wrong and our understanding that we have to follow those rules, then you fall into the category of deontology. Basically, it's just following rules. Consequentialism is pretty much what it sounds like as well. It's about, more specifically, an action is right if it produces the best results or outcome. We saw this example specifically with utilitarianism, which defines right in terms of the greatest good for the greatest number of people involved, even if that means sacrificing a few. Natural law theory is the next theory up on our list that we have talked about. This one pretty much is about the moral compass, the natural idea of right and wrong, and using that to determine whether something is right or wrong. We focused in particular on the doctrine of double effect, which is part of natural law theory, and is basically about if you intend well, then the action is morally correct. So you can have the worst results, kill everyone, but as long as your intentions were pure, the action in question is moral. The next one on our list is rights-based ethics theories, and a lot of people have a basic idea about this one. You've probably run into this one before. Basically, rights-based theory is about upholding rights. If someone violates your rights, that action is immoral. And there are all kinds of rights to go into this. There are like positive rights and negative rights, and I recommend that you read the study guide for more information about that. Care ethics is kind of a critique on, very old ideas defining what's right and wrong. I mean, for lack of a better word, it's a critique on the kind of cold approach to ethics. It's an ethical system that emphasizes the attributes associated with care. So think about someone who's taking care of you. Warmth, kindness, attention to your needs. These are all traits associated with care that a care ethicist would say makes an action morally right. There's a lot of focus on relationships and community with care ethics because you can kind of see how that links to how you would define care ethics. Social contract theory is the next theory, moral theory on our list. And basically social contract theory is pretty much what it sounds like as well. Two parties have entered into an agreement, one to be ruled, one to rule. And it's not under any forced conditions like someone's trying to gain power or anything like that. It's a mutually agreed upon agreement. And if someone, or contract rather, and if someone breaks the requirements of the contract, then the action in question is immoral. Virtue ethics is, recall, as I've said before, there are 3 major moral theories, there is consequentialism, deontology, and virtue ethics. Now, that's not to say that you're not going to see a lot of mention of rights-based or care ethics or things of that nature, but also deontology, consequentialism, and virtue ethics are the 3 biggest ones. They're the biggest common, those are the ones. Virtue ethics is pretty much what it sounds like as well, to be honest. I mean, ultimately, a morally correct action is one that is defined by that which upholds virtue. So you can think of all kinds of traits when you think of virtue, like dignity, loyalty, honesty. These are the traits that someone who is virtuous exemplifies, and that is something that you should follow according to a virtue ethicist to determine whether an action is correct. So if it's virtuous, or it is what a virtuous agent would do, for virtue ethics, that makes an action morally correct. The last one on our list is a little more complicated. It is called prima facie duties, and prima facie duties pretty much, or prima facie means on the surface or at first sight. Keep that in mind. Prima facie duties are basically W.D. Ross's response to Kant. I don't know if you remember from the first video, but we talked about how there's no way to stack Kant's rules derived from the categorical maxim, like You should never lie and you should never kill. Well, according to that, even if lying would help someone, you're not supposed to lie. There's no way to delineate. You know, lying is just as bad as killing. You know, not being beneficent is just as bad as not murdering. And you can see this, like there's a famous case of a serial killer that's a counterexample to Kant. And basically it's that there's a serial killer after this victim, you've hidden the victim in your house. And let's assume the serial killer doesn't want you, it's a ritual that requires this person, let's say, just for sake of argument. And Kant, according to Kant's system, it is morally wrong to lie to the serial killer and not tell him that you have the victim in your house. So in Kant's system, it's just as morally wrong to lie to the serial killer as it is to kill someone. W.D. Ross was trying to kind of respond to that. He was trying to suggest that basically moral rules don't have to be so strict, are absolute. I mean, moral obligation is absolute, it's important, you're born with it, etc. But there are a lot of things that apply on the surface. In the case of the serial killer, that means you would lie to the serial killer because saving the human life is more important than not lying. So for him, it's like you have these duties until you have another duty. Until there's something more pressing, it depends on the situation and the circumstances. There is no way to say rigidly this one always applies in every case. If you have a more pressing duty, in the example of a serial killer, to save that person, and that means you have to lie, then you do it. I hope this helps. If you have questions, be sure and reach out, and we can take it from there.